Hi, you're listening to After Dinner Conversations, short stories for long discussions. What that means is we get short stories, we select those short stories, and then we discuss them specifically about the ethics and the morality of the choices the characters and the situations put us in. Why did you do this? What makes you do this? What makes us good people? What's the nature of truth, goodness, all of that sort of stuff. And hopefully we're all better, smarter people for it and learn a little bit about why we think the way we think. So thank you for listening.
So we'll go ahead and get started. You are listening to After Dinner Conversation, short stories for long discussions. I am your co-host, Colby, here once again with Ashley and
howdy, y'all.
And Jeremy.
Hi.
Paying
attention that time.
There you go. You're paying attention, Simon. Sarah.
Hello.
Hello. All right, our story this time is Take 'Em by Charles Williams. Does anyone else want to do the introduction explanation of this one? I know I do it a lot of the time.
Go ahead.
Okay.
I can read the abstract.
Sure, go ahead and read the abstract.
Okay. So Take 'Em by Charles Williams. At what point is a discussion a debate, and at what point is it undue pressure? Is all unwanted pressure a kind of manipulation and violence? In this work of philosophical short story fiction, the narrator is invited by his father to go duck hunting as part of their bonding time. The narrator wants to spend time with his father, but expresses ethical concerns about hunting ducks. The father asserts hunting is a natural part of human evolution. The debate continues as the narrator decides to go on the hunt, but is undecided if he will pull the trigger. The story ends with father and son in the blind just at the moment before the narrator must decide if he's going to pull the trigger.
Which I think he actually does pull the trigger. I think my thing isn't quite right, but...
Yeah, but it's like the build up to then.
The build up.
Well, he says take him, and he takes the gun, but they don't really say if he pulls it.
Oh, is that it? Okay.
If I recall correctly.
And Charles Williams actually did, if I'm remembering correctly, he did the story about the that we did forever ago. I don't even know if we did do a podcast about the preacher who was trying to like work with the local gang members to get the building built.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay. In New Orleans.
The rebuild in New Orleans.
Yeah, in New Orleans. Yeah. After.
Yeah, I
think he did that. So that was like 3 seasons ago. That was like a year and a half ago. But yeah. I think he did that one. All right. So I feel like this one kind of interesting. Have you ever been hunting? Any of you? I've been hunting. I never shot anything, but I went hunting.
No, I've never actually been hunting.
Would you?
There's no interest. It's like skydiving or other things. It's it's a thing, but I'm not interested in it.
Okay, so you don't have anything against it. Like, there's nobody here who's like a vehement, like stern, like hunting is
anti-hunter.
Evil. No anti-hunter.
I understand it's a thing, and I understand in certain situations there does need to be some permits for hunting due to animal control, but outside of that, I'm not for it. What was I going to say? It also depends on what the person is hunting for, what kind of their purpose is. Like, are they actually going to eat the meat? Are they going to do anything with it, or is it just for sport?
Hanging on the wall.
Yeah. So that is where I draw the line.
Sarah, what do you?
I'm not carte blanche. Oh, everyone can go and
go kill everything.
Go kill everything now.
I think hunting is fine, especially if you're doing it for food, which I realize is still recreational, but eating the meat that you gather when you're hunting, I think the act of hanging animal heads on the wall is pretty gross.
Yeah.
Like the trophies.
All right,
I find that part of it pretty distasteful, but I don't really have anything against hunting.
So it's not like any of us are like have a strong moral objection to hunting.
Yeah, there's probably a distinction. So hunting for food, hunting deer in areas where the animal control is necessary.
Yeah,
I think there are. I guess there is appropriate hunting. Trophy hunting, where you're shooting elephants or lions or rhinos or anything like that, is really reprehensible.
All right, that's fair. Yeah, like all the African hunting kind of stuff. Yeah, that seems weird too to me. All right. So let's go on to what I mean, in my mind, and maybe I'm wrong. I'm frequently am wrong, but in my mind, this isn't a hunting story as much for me as it was a how people interact and debate story, right? Because it's clear the son doesn't really feel like hunting is the thing to do, but his dad kind of he persuades him, right? It's like, hey, it's father-son time, blah, blah, blah. And he doesn't out and say, like, if you want to spend time with me, you have to hunt. But the son kind of gets, like, this is what my dad does. This is my way to interact with him. This is,
Right.
like,
And
how he carves out time for me.
Right, and it could be any activity. It
Sure.
wouldn't have to be.
It could have been
hunting
bowling.
specifically.
Like, this
Right.
story would have worked with bowling or anything else, right? Just
From
the
that
kid didn't want to
perspective.
do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the kid didn't want to do it, and the dad did, and this is the way you get to interact with me if you want to interact with me. Yeah. This made me think if I ever did this sort of thing. Like if I drug people on things that like they didn't want to do. Like that time I took you for the rooster hunting, looking for that rooster.
How about driving to Colorado City just to look at the fundamental Mormons?
Oh, yeah. I was just telling Ashley about that a little while ago.
What did you do?
You know,
Yeah. So I got this idea because I have stupid ideas that it would that it would be really helpful to end like the polygamy fundamentalist sect that they call themselves Mormons. Mormons don't call them Mormons. That live in Colorado City. That one of the ways that you could like bring light to this was to start running tours. And so I thought, oh, I'll run a tour group every month to go tour the fundamentalist Mormons that live in Colorado City. And so I rented a 15-passenger van. And I think like 10 or 12 of us got in the van. Jeremy was one of them.
I think it was fewer than that, maybe six or eight.
I think so.
Yeah.
It was a lot.
It wasn't a full van.
It wasn't a full van. And we drove up. Jeremy was one of the people that went, and we toured it. And I got to tell you, it was one of the most scared times I've ever been in my life. I think they would have killed us, and nobody would have stopped them.
I
Why?
don't think it was that bad.
Oh, here's why. Because everyone that was in Colorado City, like they were all.
I thought it was Utah.
They're on the border
It's
between
on the
Utah
border.
and Arizona.
Yeah, you keep calling them Colorado City.
Isn't it called Colorado?
The name
Isn't
is
it
it's Colorado City. It's in
Oh.
Arizona. It's on the border
There
of
you go.
Arizona and Utah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know why. Maybe
Okay.
it's to throw off the government. And so everyone there that was in the city is from that community. There's no one. It's not like it's a mixed community. Like if you live in this city, you're a member of the fundamentalist church, and they're all sort of like in on it, right? On why they're there. And so I feel like if a stranger had wandered in. By the way, as soon as we drove into town, we got a tail that followed us all the way until we drove out of town. That like if like something had gone down, I don't think anyone in the town would have been like, "Hey, they're beating up strangers," because they're all like together on it. They're all in on it, right?
Did
There's
you have it plastered on the side of the van? We're here for the polygamous tour?
No.
but it
Because
was.
that would make it
But we're the only
like
ones who didn't look related. Like everyone
it's
there looked related.
probably pretty suspect that you drove in from out of town in a large
In a large van. And then frequented
I don't
and
think-
then went to several establishments just to kind
Yeah.
of check them out.
Just
Did
to check
you
it
know
out.
that there's an actual television show? You guys did not need to drive there.
The television
called-
show didn't exist
It's
yet.
called
Big
Sister
Love?
Wives.
Oh,
It's a thing
that
on
one too.
TLC.
Oh no, that's not quite the
This
same
was like 10 years
thing.
ago.
This was at least. So did you only go with that just because you
Oh.
were like, I'm a friend of Colby's and we'll go?
No, it was vaguely interesting, and I think you were working for the Attorney General at the time. So it was.
I was
there were-
actually.
we
yeah.
had a lot of conversations.
I was
about
interning
it.
at the Attorney General's office at that time. That's
Right.
right. And they
And I
were
think you were-
bringing a lawsuit against them for the way they were spending government money.
Right. So I think we had enough conversations about it that it was like, yes, we should check this out.
That's a
Oh,
good point.
okay. So you had a legitimate reason. It wasn't just like, let's go look at weird people.
Air quotes. I would say air quotes legitimate reason. But yeah.
Yay.
So your
Okay.
point of that is that it's not unheard of that somebody gets drug along to something just to be as a way to socially interact.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sarah, have you had this happen too? Have you gone to do stuff that you like have some mild like not just that you don't enjoy it, you have some sort of like minor issue with it, but you went and did it anyway?
Yeah, and I've always regretted it.
Really?
Yeah, you really gotta go. I feel like everybody does that when they're younger. Like you get invited to go somewhere or do something, and there's a lot of peer pressure,
Freaking laser
just
tag.
don't feel
I
right
hate
about
laser
it.
tag.
And you go anyways, and it turns out to be terrible.
Yeah.
Like, you should
And you're
really
kicking
follow
yourself
that
because you're like,
gut.
I shouldn't have even been here.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Nothing
I feel
too serious or anything like that. Just,
I was
Country
dragged to
Thunder.
this podcast. I don't know what you're talking
Right.
about. I was peer pressured to
You're peer
join in on
pressured in.
this
Now you're
conversation.
50 episodes in.
Now I regret it. Oh my gosh. No, I'm just kidding. Just
Yeah.
kidding.
But that's a
Yeah.
real thing. Like, your point is well taken, Colby. I think it is a real thing. And
Well, like I know, like certainly with parents, like obviously because there's a generational gap, parents and kids have different interests, and yet one of their shared interests is having a connection with their parent or with their kid. And in this story, I think that's one of the things I really liked about this story is this idea of the father, through really no serious fault of his own, is sort of dragging his kid on something that the kid has expressed concerns about. And the kid's going in part because it feels like the best way to interact with his father and have like time with his dad, right?
Right.
And I feel like that's one of the things I personally found interesting about this story is about the way people sort of knowingly or unknowingly sort of leverage this desire to be connected to drag people along to things they wouldn't necessarily want to do.
I think they secretly wanted to finally have the winning argument to convince the other person to see their side and agree with them. They didn't, I like how they didn't call each other names. There wasn't belittling the other person. It was statistics and their point of view, and then they would bring their counter argument. But there really was no, you're an evil person for doing this. Just, this is how
Right.
I view what you're doing. Here are other options. Like instead of,
Right.
killing the meat, eat the meat that's already in the store.
Right. Didn't resort to like the sort of political yelling that you hear sometimes on Facebook or whatever.
Yeah, so it
Right.
makes me wonder if the son decided to go along because he was like maybe actually spending face-to-face time with him, I could finally get in the one piece of information that clicks with the dad. And I think the dad was thinking the other thing too. Let's get out there, you'll see what I'm talking about, and then make your decision.
Sure,
So
but the dad was never like, you know what, son, let's go to an esports event since that's what you enjoy.
Well, did the son recommend
No, he
another
didn't.
option? He didn't.
He did. That's true.
So I
the
feel
dad never took no for an answer. Like,
The
he
dad
really didn't take no for an answer. He kept coming after him with more. So there was never an
But
opportunity even to offer up an alternative activity because dad was like,
he had something in his head of what he wanted to do together.
Isn't there something to be said though, like don't knock it until you've tried it? Like it's one of those like you don't get it until you go do it. Like trail running. No, you're not going to get it until you go and do it.
Sure.
And so I feel like to some degree, like the dad was like, it's magical. You just need to experience it. And I feel like that's the dad's argument was just come with me, feel the silence, feel the calm, and then you'll understand where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
So maybe it was more of like, it's not an argument I can tell you. You have to experience it yourself.
Sure.
So, I mean, it sounds like the son has never gone out before. And I applaud him for at least experiencing it. He doesn't necessarily need to shoot the gun himself, but just the fact that he's like, you know what, Dad, I will experience your world. Don't ask me to participate in the fact of actually killing anything.
Yeah.
And then after that experience, I would be upset if the father kept pestering the son.
Yeah.
But I do give him kudos for at least attempting to experience an aspect of it.
Yeah. Jeremy, have you ever drug your kids on something that they weren't particularly interested in? I think this really seemed like your MO, but
right. I mean, you could talk about the Renaissance Festival. They were dragged to that.
I could talk about the
Really,
Renaissance
they didn't have
Festival.
the
You know, they were like
choice.
They were like babies though when they started getting drugged to the Renaissance Festival.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and it was just kind of I was going and they had to go. So, but in a long-term sense, I think they enjoyed it.
Okay. Yeah, that's
One of them
fair.
still is participating.
goes.
So
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I don't know. I think the difference is I feel like this is why the bowling example doesn't work, is because I feel like the son doesn't have a moral objection to bowl. Like, you don't have a moral objection to bowling. You just find it kind of stupid, right? In the case of the hunting, I think he has a greater than like, I don't find it interesting objection.
Right. I think probably golf would be a good.
Oh, that would be, because that's yeah, I feel that way about golf. I feel like
Right,
it's a waste of land. It's a waste of space. It's
waste
a rich
of resources.
It's a waste of It's a waste of water. It's a rich person's hobby.
Now, the question is, would you still have that same opinion, but at least you've tried golfing? Like, you've at least gone experienced it firsthand, and then you can be like, you know what? I've researched it. I've done it myself, and I realize still not for me. Because I wonder how many people. Again, there's a feeling of being out on the green and being outside, and the same thing with hunting, being outside and being with nature. And so that's one of those instances where, yeah, you can talk about all the reasons you're for it, but until you're in it and you see what they're talking about.
Sure. But I feel like in the case of golf, and I feel like this would be the case with the thing, like I can be like, hey, I'll go out with you. Like, you're going to golf whether I go or not. The golf course exists whether I go or not. I'll go and drive the cart and drink some beer. Cool. And I feel like the son could have done that. And I understand why the author didn't give that as an option. But the son could have been like, look, you're going to go shoot ducks with or without me. Like, I can just come and hang out in the blind while you shoot ducks. Like, that's still father-son time.
But I think it's the fact, I think it's more along the equivalent of like, hey, I'm vegan and you're asking me to go to a butcher shop.
Sure, but the point I'm making is the butcher shop exists whether you go or not.
Yeah.
And so it's like I can go and not order meat, right? Like I can.
Right. I can go and not golf. I can go and not hunt.
Do you guys remember the story with the clone?
Ooh, we're gonna have to narrow it down. We've had a lot of clone.
Oh my gosh.
There are a lot of clone stories. Gay in space one.
Gay in space.
Yeah.
Everyone's gay in space. Yes,
yeah, that was a good story.
So there's a lot of being a parent where you want to see yourself in your children as they grow up.
That's a good point.
Part of that father's disappointment was how different this son of his was. And this father is not really so different from that. Like, he really wants his son to enjoy the same things he does. He probably sees being a hunter as part of his identity.
Sure, and part of the knowledge that he can pass on to his son.
Exactly. Right. So, I mean, that's kind of where I think the dad is coming from on this one.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I assume for both of you, you would have gone to if you were the son in this story, you would have just been like, yeah, it's cool, I'll go.
The hour at which you have to wake up in order to go do this would have
no doubt
been a right out for me. No way.
That's a hard no.
That's solid no.
Yeah, no, I totally understand that.
I had two small children, and my days of waking up at like 3:00 in the morning are over.
Do you think it was wrong of the dad? Do you think it was wrong of the dad not to ask the son, like, well, what would you like to do? Do you think that was a mistake, or do you think that was just a?
I think it was a mistake.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
To offer an option.
But if give the dad the benefit of the doubt that after this experience, he was like, all right, we did my thing. Let's do your thing now.
Right.
Let's pretend that happened. That was the next thing that happened in the story.
That's the sequel. Is they're gonna go watch a extended edition version of 2001.
They'll go see a Broadway musical.
Yeah.
Go see a Broadway musical. Yeah, right. Gonna go play laser tag. Sure, son. Let's go play laser tag.
Why are you knocking laser tag? It's the bomb.
I'm not a big fan of laser tag, mostly because the little kids, man, they just follow you around and just keep shooting you over and over again.
So you have a problem with little kids, not laser tag.
Right. I might play laser tag with adults. That could be. If it was an adult only laser tag, which I think there is one. It's called paintball.
Little kids play paintball too.
Oh man, I would totally get those little kids in the paintball. That's different. I would shoot them so many times.
You can't get them in laser tag, but you can get them in paintball.
I saw paintballs. Like, they sell them that you can throw them. And I was very tempted, but I was like, wait, hold on. Who's going to have to clean this up?
Yeah. Exactly. So let me ask you this. Do you think that the dad even knew that he was sort of leveraging his dad position to get his son to come with him? Or do you think
I think that is pretty natural. That's what you do as a parent, is you leverage that position to manage and teach your kids.
To teach them to eat their broccoli or whatever.
Everything.
Right.
It's a tool.
Take out the garbage. It's a tool. You leverage your position as parent to construct your children a little bit or steer them a little bit.
Yeah.
All right. So in that sense, you're okay with what the dad did in this story, Jeremy?
Yeah, it seems very natural.
I also got the
That's it.
impression if the son had just said like, and even stops the truck and is like, "So are we doing this or not?" And I think if the son had said like, nah, let's go to like the waffle shop.
Hi, this is Colby, and you are listening to After Dinner Conversation, short stories for long discussions. But you already knew that, didn't you? If you'd like to support what we do at After Dinner Conversation, head on over to our Patreon page at patreon.com/After Dinner Conversation. That's right, for as little as $5 a month, you can support thoughtful conversations like the one you're listening to. And as an add incentive for being a Patreon supporter, you'll get early access to new short stories and ad-free podcasts, meaning you'll never have to listen to this blurb again. At higher levels of support, you'll be able to vote on which short stories become podcast discussions, and you'll even be able to submit questions for us to discuss during these podcasts. Thank you for listening, and thank you for being the kind of person that supports thoughtful discussion.
And even stops the truck and is like, "So are we doing this or not?" And I think if the son had said like, nah, let's go to like the waffle shop, that the dad would have like been disappointed, but he would have turned the truck around and they'd have gone and had breakfast.
Right.
Which I think is kind of the sign of like, it's okay. Like this is an okay thing. Yeah.
I'll come hunting some other day by myself.
Right. One of the other questions that we had was, how do you know when you're simply having a lively debate on the merits of a topic compared to when you're pressuring someone on a topic? Like, as soon as they like say like, "No, that's cool," are you supposed to just like, because it seems like they had a good, healthy debate as opposed to like a,
Right.
Kind of like what society has come to sort of debate.
And I think that really depends on, respecting boundaries. And the son would have really had to said, like, "I know I agree to come with you, but now that, we're getting out of the truck and going to go into the woods,
Yeah.
I have a problem and we need to stop."
Okay.
And it's respecting that boundary. And that's really where we would have known whether
The dad,
you're right.
yeah. Whether the dad was sort of pushing him or just
Yeah.
trying to share an experience. That's fair. Sarah, have you done this as well? Have you pressured your kids to do stuff they don't want to do? Is that just part of parenting?
Well, going to bed. I mean,
Oh,
every
yeah.
single day. Every single day.
Yeah.
No, I was thinking about that. I think the line that you're talking about depends in discussion on whether or not some sort of action is required by the other party. Are you having a lively debate about a topic, but no action is required?
Right.
You're not really coercing somebody into anything.
Yeah.
But if there is some sort of action required and the other party is very clear from the beginning that this is not something they want to do, then no means no.
Sure.
Right? But, to Jeremy's point also, that person is allowed to change their mind at any point during the activity.
Yeah. That's fair.
They're allowed to say, "I've had enough," and stop it. So this is where I think that the question of this story comes in. Is the dad really doing enough to make sure that his son is really comfortable?
Like, is he checking in enough sort of thing?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. I did wonder, because I feel like if you, like, celebrities unknowingly do this, right? Like famous actors or whoever else, where it's like somebody wants to, like, you always hear about these things, right? Where somebody wants to hang out with whoever, Louis C.K. or whoever the creeper of the day is. And the person wants to hang out with them and they want their approval and they look up to this person. And so they end up in positions or doing things that whether it's doing drugs or whether it's, sex type stuff or whether it's, I don't know, whatever, robbing a liquor store, that they want to be around. These people have like this, maybe not parents, but just this influence,
Positions
I
and
guess.
people of influence or authority.
Yeah. Like I feel like this is a thing, and that's I struggled to understand where the parallels were and weren't with the example of the father in this story versus that example, if that makes sense.
Right, where it comes down to where that line of consent is.
Yeah, because like I remember I watched I forget what the movie was I watched. It was a movie with Seth Rogen. I think it was. It was a long time ago, and since it had Seth Rogen, it's totally unmemorable. Um,
Oof.
but not that he's a bad actor. He just can't remember anything except that he smokes weed. That's the only thing I can remember about his movies. And he's got a weird voice. Uh, and oh, it was one about somebody having cancer. Doesn't matter. Point is he meets some famous some act. He goes to some signing or does something, and one of the girls is like, "So you're kind of cool," and he's like, "Oh, we're going to the IHOP. You want to come with us?" She's like, "Okay." And then of course they end back at his place. He has sex, and like 20 minutes later, she's out the door. And his friend's like, "That's how it works? You just like some girl that like you meet at the IHOP and now you're having sex and she's gone?" And he's like, "Yeah, I don't know. I guess she just wanted to like sleep with somebody famous or something." And I just like, I'm not, it was interesting to me to think about how those sort of situations parallel or don't parallel the situation here with the father and the son and the duck hunting, right? Where that girl leaves and, an hour later, she's like, "I really just wanted to hang out with him because I think he's cool." Right? Because I saw him in a TV show or something.
Yeah.
Well, parents are always authority figures in general,
That's true.
for good or bad. So
Sure.
even as somebody who's like completely grown, have my own children, I still feel like I need to listen to my father's advice. He may not necessarily be giving me great advice.
Sure, but you still listen.
But you still listen, and you feel bad if you don't take that advice. If you still decide that that was not really the right path to head down, you decide to do something else, you still feel like you've disrespected your parent by not doing what they asked you to do. And I think that is something that we kind of train our children to do from a very young age, from birth.
Yeah.
You know, your purpose is to make me happy. I'm your parent. You need to make me happy and make me feel respected and
Yeah.
Right.
all of those things.
And do the things that I tell you to do.
That will stick with you all the way into adulthood.
Yeah. So, Sarah, are there variations on this story with the duck hunting where you could have changed the story just a little bit and been like, okay, now the dad's like screwing this up. He's using it, or switch it the other way where like now I'm sure it's okay. Is it just a question of the dad checking in, do you think? Is that the main thing?
I think at the very beginning, when the dad is like, when he says, "I'll come for the long weekend, but I don't think I want to go hunting with you," dad should have been like, "Cool."
Cool. Yeah.
Well, I've had a situation like that before. The thing is, spending time with your children is especially at that age, like, this is awesome. We actually get to spend time together. So who knows how long the dad has like planned this and been like, all right, we're going to spend time together. This is going to be so fun, and like built it up in his head and planned it all out. And then just for the son to be like, nope, don't want to do that. And the father not being able to be like, well, like, I went through all this planning and I thought this would be something fun for us. And just to let the son say, no, don't want to do it. And then it's off the table.
Well, he could have also said, "Let me know if you change your mind, because we're going anyway. It's like, we're going up to the cabin for the long weekend. We're going to hang out. I'm going to go hunting. Let me know if you change your mind."
Yeah, no, that
You're
I
welcome to
agree
come
with.
me.
Yes, that I agree with. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
that
see
way
it
they
like-
still could have had their lively debate, but there would have been no pressure for the son to take any sort of action he wasn't comfortable with.
So you could have stayed at home on hunting morning, slept in.
Yeah. Stayed
Yeah.
at the cabin. Had breakfast ready when he came back.
Right?
Yeah.
See, we can imagine a great scenario.
Right. Well, I can think of at least half a dozen times in my life, usually on Easter, where where my mom would say like, "Well, I want you to come to church. It's really important to me because this is really important to me." And in my mind, I'm like, I really don't believe the way you believe. I really don't. And I really don't think the church matters. The building matters. But I think there's been at least a half a dozen times where I was like, you know what? It doesn't do any harm. Like, it's an hour of my life to live out your fantasy. I mean, in this case, I guess you're killing animals. In that case, you're just like killing wafers. But I can definitely think of times where like no, because they're little wafers that you eat, and the cracker and the. I can think of at least 3 or 4 times where like my mom knew I didn't want to go, knew I didn't believe, knew it wasn't my thing, and just was like, yeah, but it's important to me. It's really important to me. It's like a thing we do as a family. And I think I just like, I don't know. I don't know if it parallels the thing exactly, because in the case of this, you're actually killing animals, but I feel like that was a kind of, like, in retrospect, I feel like that was a kind of pressure where she should have been like, okay, cool. Well, we're going, like, it's cool.
Well, maybe our task as like parents of adult children is to recognize that our influence is disproportionately heavy on our children.
Yeah.
Like that influence that you wield over your children when they're young in order to teach them right from wrong and to teach them manners and to help get them through their schooling. You don't need to continue to wield that influence into their adulthood.
Right.
Right, and you should change how you relate to them as they get older.
And I think the author was clever to use hunting as the action here, because it does raise the stakes, right? It's not just
me wasting an hour of my time.
Right.
Yeah.
There is a moral conflict as well.
Right. That's a good point.
And it would be hard to get that with bowling. There is some of that with golf, but so it depends on the activity.
Yeah.
To raise those stakes.
Yeah, I guess that's the difference between the hunting and the golf. Maybe the animals don't get killed if I don't show up. Or like the golf course still exists, sort of thing. I don't know.
Right, the golf course still exists, and you playing golf doesn't directly impact.
Sure.
It's more the existence of the golf course.
It's not like the golf course uses doesn't use more water because I played today.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Jeremy, did your parents ever do this? Did you ever get drug along to something where you're like,
there was stuff, but not nothing like hunting.
Yeah.
Actually, just trying to even remember.
Yeah, absolutely. But I see it as prepping for adulthood. You're going to have to do stuff that you don't want to do. So you just, like going to church. Yeah, you just go. Like, I don't have an option. I'm a kid.
Sure, but in the story, this guy's not a kid.
Yeah, as an adult?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. It makes my mom happy, and guess what? If I can make my mom happy and for an hour of my time do something that she really likes to do, sure.
It's not killing animals
because who knows what other hobbies the dad has, or who knows what other hobbies the son has. Where does their Venn diagram overlap, and activities that they can do together? And maybe down the line the son really wants to do an activity and the father's like, I don't understand the point of this, but yeah. All right, I'll go check it out.
I'm gonna up our stakes. What if it wasn't hunting ducks, but it was hunting something that's a little more rare, like buffalo?
Well, the difference between trophy animals and animals for food.
Right. Yeah.
So pick a trophy animal that
would that have changed
even gonna.
Right. And buffalo are relatively rare still in America.
So that's the clever thing about this. Ducks are pretty plentiful. It doesn't seem to matter very much if you shoot a couple of them.
Right.
For sport.
As long as they're not carrier pigeons.
But it seemed like to the son that this duck hunting was the equivalent of shooting a rhino to him.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that's why he's taking it so passionately.
Yeah.
Or who knows? Maybe they've had this conversation for the 18th time.
Yeah.
And they're just going around in circles.
Yeah.
So when do you stop the arguing then?
I think that's the big question, right? Is when do you quit trying to convince someone of? I guess what Sarah said is when they say, like, when they've stated their opinion. But if that's the case, nobody ever gets to sort of plead their case.
Well, they could have still had their lively debate.
Yeah.
Just with no action required.
Yeah.
So
what do you think about
that? I think is the big difference. Is, are you requiring the other party to do something?
Yeah. What about the buffalo example? Does any of that change your analysis?
Well, I think it depends on. because all of his arguments are still good for buffalo if he's shooting a buffalo and then keeping the meat. All of his arguments are generally
All right,
still okay.
let me pick the right kind of animal then. How about a rhino?
Okay, right. No, I think at that point, if you're just trophy hunting.
Yeah. So how does
Then-
the kid's opinion or how does his action should they or do they change? Do you think?
How is like he should continue to absolutely condemn his dad for doing this because it's morally reprehensible.
Right. So I originally had said that if it was duck hunting, I'm like, you could go, but just don't pull the trigger. Just like sit in the blind and hang out. I think if it was rhino hunting, I would be like, no, you don't even sit in the blind and hang out.
No,
like
you don't condone it at all.
You just like, I can't even go with you. And I don't exactly know why one is different than another because it might not be for him. For him, it might be the same. I don't get the impression it is, but.
Right. Well, he wouldn't have the same arguments. He wouldn't be
Yeah.
able to use the same arguments.
Yeah.
Of why hunting is okay if it's trophy hunting.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know, how does anybody justify trophy hunting?
Tiny
Other than,
penis.
well, I can
tiny
afford
penis. Same way they justify having a Hummer. I have no idea. Because you're a moron, and you just feel like it's your job to kill everything. I don't know.
Yeah, because you can.
Because you can, exactly.
I think the story is a great representation of human debate and when you just stop debating with the other person.
You just let
Because
it go.
everybody has a point where they just go, nope, not talking about this anymore.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And I think they do a pretty good job of like respectfully debating back and forth in the story. And the thing that Sarah says, I don't know at what point in the story, or could I change the story in my head where they would just be like, nope, we're not talking about it anymore. But if that's the case, then I don't know how sort of this like, how opinions in the world change over time if you can't talk to somebody beyond when they want to talk about a subject.
Do you ever have one of those situations where you were going to do something and then an authority figure tells you that you need to do this thing and you're like, well, now I'm not going to do it.
Sure.
No, definitely not doing it.
Right?
Yeah.
Maybe it's kind of like that. Like, if dad's like, oh, okay, son, sure, let me know if you change your mind, but every once in a while they talk about it, then he has the space to change his mind because he's not being told to change his mind.
Right.
I have a theory about this. I feel like the only way you can change someone's mind is by peripheral vision. Right? So if I wanted to change Jeremy's mind on something, on using paper straws instead of plastic straws, I can't just say you should use paper straws instead of plastic straws because immediately he wants to defend his position. And as soon as he defends his position, he's now firm in his position. That you have to take every argument from this peripheral vision sort of thing and be like, man, you see that article on how long plastic stays like in the ocean? That's just crazy. I didn't know that. I didn't know that it stayed like 100 years. Any rate.
That's just fishing though.
And then you just, yeah, but I feel like that's the only way you really change opinions. And then like let him feel like he decided
take an action that you want them to take.
Yeah. I don't know. One of the things I found interesting about the story is if you stop every discussion when the person sort of states their case and you stated your case, then I feel like it's like the speed at which opinions in society change don't seem to reflect that's the way it works.
So I'm going to talk about politics. There are times where you're like, no, I'm not debating this with someone of opposite political discussion to me.
I block lots
You
of people
block
on
them. So that's
Facebook.
your point. Where is the progress being made, or are we just dividing even further?
Yeah, no, those flat earthers, I just block them on Facebook.
Exactly. So you mentioned wanting to find that kind of middle ground, but there is a tipping point where you're just like, I no longer talk to you.
Yeah.
And you're like, you're beyond hope.
Actually. That's an excellent point because is it the relationship that we have built that makes it so that you want to seek that common ground rather than, you have to have a relationship established with somebody already in order to have an effect on their opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. All right. I think we pretty much run this one out. I liked this one too. I think I'm glad that we're doing some that aren't science fiction. I realize there may be, different discussion types, but whatever. I'm still waiting. We actually got one that we published it's coming up soon if it hasn't come out already. That's actually a ghost story, a legit ghost murder in the house sort of story, which will be interesting. I don't know if we'll do a podcast for it. Hopefully we will. But I'm still waiting for some sort of like S&M, like 50 Shades of Grey story. I'm also waiting for a cowboy story. We've never gotten a story with a cowboy in it, or like an Old West story. It doesn't have to be a cowboy.
Right.
I don't know. I'm waiting for all these different genres, but that's it. You've been listening to After Dinner Conversation, short stories for long discussions. Please like and subscribe. If there are any questions that you don't think we asked, feel free to put them in the comments, and maybe we'll discuss them. If you're a Patreon member, you can post questions you want us to discuss, because you get early access to everything and ad-free versions of this podcast. The magazine, you can always subscribe on our website and get it. It's $1.95 a month. You can even get it for $4.95 for an entire year using the discount code HAPPY. And that's it. I guess thanks for joining us. Thanks for having the conversation. Hey,
Thank
Jeremy?
you for having us.
Thank you for having us, as always.
Yeah. Hey, Jeremy. So I was thinking about starting a dogfighting ring, a dogfighting thing. Would you mind coming with me to that as a friend? just to support my entrepreneurship and my endeavors. It's okay though. In the country I'm going to do it in, it's legal, so it's fine.
Legal. Okay.
Yeah.
No. Amateur professional wrestling, totally okay. Dogfighting, no.
What if there's a lot of top rope work? What if there's a lot of jump? I teach them how to jump off the top rope.
Okay, I'll come watch that.
Okay.
If you can turn dogfighting into professional wrestling,
like it's like they know it's fake.
Faked.
It's all fake.
Yeah.
Oh man,
There
the
you've got
promos
a
would be
business.
amazing. I can see the promos already.
I feel the look on Ashley's face right now.
That would be amazing. And the little costumes you could dress them up in.
Right.
Oh, that'd be amazing. All right. Hey, you guys have a great day. We'll see you in 2 weeks again.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
If you've enjoyed listening to this, please like and subscribe. It helps us out a ton. The vast majority of people haven't liked and subscribed, which means maybe it shows up in your algorithm, maybe it doesn't. So don't leave that to chance. Just go ahead and hit that button, and we'd sure appreciate that. And that way we can keep doing what we're doing, and you're not left to the whims of some algorithm. Thanks.